Yeah, hello and welcome to a new episode of our weekly Spielworxx chat season 2. My name is Uli Blennemann. I'm having a guest today, Jonas Kissling from Switzerland. We will talk about hockey today. So, Jonas, how are you?
Hello, Uli. Thank you. I'm fine. I'm pretty excited to be here on your channel. Thank you for
So,
inviting me.
I'm excited having you, and we have already a comment here, and it's Mo from Texas. Hello, Mo. So I hope you are well. But of course, we won't talk about hockey today. We will talk about O's by Leader Games designer Cole Worley. And by the way, here is the game. So if you haven't seen this, this is a thick, fat, heavy, nice box. This is O's, the game we will talk about today. And note, this is not an in-depth review of all the mechanics of O's. We will instead focus on a few key mechanics of the game, on things that we think are special. And please also keep in mind that while Jonas has played the game several times, I have not. I fondled the components. It's a lovely game. I have, of course, read the rules and I played a couple of turns solitaire just to learn a little bit using the great beta version of the vessel module of OS. So, and we may use the module 2 during these 30 plus minutes. And finally, if you are having some questions or comments, please put them in the chat window and Jonas might even answer them. So we'll see. And by the way, this is the URL of the game, which you now see in the chat. So if you are interested in Oath, there's a ton of information on the game. And finally, before we now start, I would like to thank all supporters of the Kickstarter and Spieleschmiede campaigns for squaring Circle. So thank you very much. Your support is really much appreciated. But now, after this long monologue, back to Jonas and O's. Why is it worthwhile to talk about one game for 30 minutes? What makes O's special in your opinion?
I mean, you could certainly talk for 30 minutes about every game if you like it. But of course, I mean, it's even if you just open the box, you have so many components, beautiful components in it, and you already have the sense that something special is in there. And then if you learn the game, you see that there are a lot of different rules, different facets that Cole Worley has brought together. That each for its own, it's not complicated, but if you bring all together, you have a rich game with different aspects, different levers you can pull or push, and even after I think 10 or 20 games, you can find new aspects you didn't see before.
Yeah, I agree. And talking about the components for a while, so we all know that today there are quite a few games which have beautiful components, but OS is really special. Not that everything is truly new, but put together in this special way. I think it's also a game that has a wonderful table presence. So really nice. But to structure this a little bit, what is your role as a player in Oath? So what are you doing in Oath? What is Oath?
So you are a character in this land ruled by a chancellor, and um, you can at the start of the game you can be that chancellor. Then you try to keep your power, to stay in power by fulfilling an oath, one of 4 oaths, which is active in a game. and that's why the game is called Oath. Then you could be an exile, also maybe a leader of a family or a group of people. Maybe they've lost influence in the past and they try to regain their power. And then they could an exile could during play get invited into the Imperium and becomes a citizen. And then he has to support his leader, the Chancellor, but he tries to complete a goal for himself to become the successor in this of this land. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Jonas, you can be in this game, you can be an exile. And this could mean that you are that. So what I like in O's is in quite a few games, you are put in your chair. This is your role. You are in a historical game, you are that king, you are that one, and you're doing this. Here in O's, in my opinion at least, it's way more open. And this, of course, leads to your own thinking, to immersion. How do you see this? So, when you were playing O's, what were you thinking? What were your thoughts?
I mean, at the start, you're of course focusing on the rules and maybe on these goals. You have to first find these goals. We can talk about the different winning conditions maybe afterwards. But then from after a certain period or after a few games, you realize that there is another layer, a narrative, and you're part of this. And then suddenly you start to make decisions not on winning at all costs, but then you start suddenly doing actions maybe to bring further the story. And this is really interesting to me. And also, I mean, it's so open when you start at the start of the beginning. It's so different from all these other games we have, where you know exactly what you have to do and you have to reach a certain point threshold. Route is 30 points, or if you have Euro games, you have as much point as possible. But here in Oath, you're just playing along at the beginning. You're doing stuff, and then you think, okay, I could travel there, and then I do hear something. I interact with these denizens, and you wonder what comes up next, and you're excited to that a story unfolds, and you're forgetting that you are maybe just here to win.
Yes. Yeah, I agree completely. And maybe to put this a little bit more in focus, I'm opening quickly the vessel module to show you a little bit from the game. And we will, of course, continue to talk. So you should now see the board. There is the map here, and with three different areas: the cradle, the provinces, and the hinterland. And of course, this is a setup from the playbook. So you see, this is the Chancellor here, the Oath Keeper, and with his board, and the pawn of the Chancellor is here, so he is in the plains. And these are the three other players in this four-player game, and they are all exiles. But as Jonas has already hinted, you can flip this board and then become a citizen. So that's totally different. And this is, as you also can see, this is a beautiful game. And it's just one game is a maximum of 8 game rounds. And it could be over after just 5 game rounds here. Because then, under certain conditions, you are rolling the die and the game may be over. And just very quickly, so during a turn, so one thing here, let's say I'm the Chancellor and it's my turn, and in order to do these different actions here, they all cost supply. So supply, think of supply as action points. So if I do a search here, it could be between 2 and 4 supply, depending on where I'm drawing my cards from. But you see, then this marker already, even if it just costs 2, is moving over there. I do another search or I do a trade, and then my turn is already over. So it seems to be very complex, but actually the turn structure is not complex at all. And you see, these are the different actions that you can do. And there's of course wake and rest, but these are more or less administrative phases. So Jonas, would you like to add something to this, or?
No, that's
Yeah,
okay.
okay. So, and let's just close this for a second here. So we are back on screen. So what is Oath, Jonas? Is it a political game? Is it a civilization type game? Is it a legacy type game? What is Oath?
So, I mean, I'm not a specialist for civilization games, but I have more the feeling. I mean, in civilization games, a lot of games you play over hundreds or thousands of years, and you have your own civilization, and the structure, the development of your civilization is pretty linear or maybe exponential. You start small, a little bit primitive, and then you can develop technologies. You can explore the landscape, and you have pretty linear development of your civilizations. But and you are in control of everything in your own civilization. And in Oath, you are all part of this land, and so the focus is much more lower, closer to the people. I mean, you have all these denizen cards you can dig out of the world deck or the discard piles, and you put them in play, and you can interact with them. So you have a rich world of people, of living people, even. They are, I think, in civilization games, people are just, I mean, the unimportant. You are
A
doing your
token.
decisions.
A mere people are just a mere token in this
Yeah,
game, and
yeah,
you forget about them quickly. Yes.
yeah. And in Oath, you really are interacting with them, and when you are opening up to this narrative, to the RPG like part of Oath, you really start to interact with these people. So and because of the chronicle aspect, we come to this. I think later. It's more about writing history for me. It's really you don't see a linear development of this imperium. You see the setbacks.
Yeah.
I think Cole explained it also, that each game is a pivotal moment in this history of this world, and you don't have this just linear development, new technologies. Everything is getting better and better and better, but you have really setbacks.
Yeah.
This imperium, it can crumble, and you have ruins at the end of the game, and out of these ruins a new empire can emerge.
Yeah.
So this is, yeah, from this standpoint, it's for me, it's not a Civ game. And for the legacy aspect, I mean, it depends a little bit what you mean by legacy.
Yeah.
If you take just the legacy games from Robtavio, I mean, you don't have destruction in this game. You don't you don't change permanently things on cards or on the map. But the aspect, I think Cole tried took and developed further, is the decision you make in one game. They are permanent, and they will change other games.
Yeah.
And this is really cool. I mean, we have seen this already with Friedemann Friese. I think he tried this with the Fable system.
Yes.
where from game to game you change some cards, maybe in a what's the fruit game? I forgot.
Fable fruit, or is it?
Fabled fruit, yeah, fabled fruit, of course. You will put every game at every game you integrate new cards into the deck, and so the deck changes permanently. Maybe Cole got inspired a little bit by this, but I am not sure.
Yeah, Cole probably had been inspired by several games, but I liked your explanation a lot because yes, I think you are completely right. This is not your typical Civ type game. So if you look at the cover, it could be actually, so it could be a kingdom here or something is happening, but definitely this is not your standard Civ type game where you develop your kingdom, your whatever you are, your county to something large and bigger and better over hundreds of years. Get new technology as you described. No, I don't think so. Um, I think it's a political game in a way because you interact, of course, with your table and you can tell them, or you can, as chancellor, you can tell them or ask them, would you like to become a citizen here? And as you said, Jonas, it's a narrative game, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, this is the real strength of the game, what it can do. And I would like to briefly look into the chat because I had some interesting comments. So first, hello Daniel, good seeing you, and hello Chris, and board games for me. Great seeing you. Treffenverteiler Matze, great seeing you. But Mo had an interesting comment. He played the game 4 times so far and he loved O's, but he wasn't a fan of the maintenance of the game. And Daniel was asking, what do you mean with maintenance? And Mo was saying, prepare for the next game. Write down in the book the stuff about the game. It sort of lends itself to a legacy game that, except that you do not destroy anything, you just change stuff. If you see it in this way, I would agree to this. It has a certain legacy aspect, but to me, writing in this very nice booklet is something that is truly special. That there it is. So it's really well done, and this is my story, and it feels different than attaching another thing, gluing another thing on the pandemic board. Of course, I know quite a few people are very much attached to these editions on the pandemic board in Pandemic Legacy. I totally get this. But I think this one is truly special and it's your story. And it also, we all know that in the pandemic series, you are still, although it feels like open, everything can happen, but it can't. You are always on rails and just are able to move a couple of meters to each side. But in Chronicle, with this game, I think with O's, you are way more open here, I think.
And I think this Chronicle book is actually one of the strongest part in this game. I mean, it's when you open it, it's just there, and you can use it if you like. But honestly, you should use it, and even you should give the Chronicle book to the Chancellor, to the winner of the game. Then it really starts to be historiography. I mean, you as the winner, you can write your own history, and you can leave out maybe other parts you didn't like about the game. You can change them, or maybe afterwards you can reflect on the game, and then you see suddenly some nuances that you didn't realize during the game, and you can put all this in this Chronicle book, and it's really ingenious. You get so invested in it. And I think I joked about it, but I think there is a truth to that. I joked with my wife that when I can get my friends to write in this book, they get invested and they want to play it again. And I think it was a little bit like this. After a game, they started chatting in the chat and making comments. And he said, "I will take back my chancellorship." And they really got invested in the game. And we had a lot of discussions afterwards. And I think I didn't have this for other games that much.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right that it attaches you to the game or the player, so that it's truly special and it's a really great move, in my opinion, by Leader Games. But of course, it's not for everyone. So Mo doesn't like it too much, but that's what it is. But we have some comments, and this is something I want to touch on anyway. Good that you're mentioning. Daniel is asking, curious if Oath is any good at two players. And then the Obaconist is saying, well, a two-player is supposed to be played two-handed, where you play multiple rows. Not sure how that plays out either. I'm not sure if this is correct, but in my opinion, then now Jonas will correct me, I don't think it's a good two-player game. I'm not even sure if it's a great three-player game. So and I haven't started my campaign here, I would probably start with 4 or 5 and to get this. But Jonas, please correct me immediately.
It's interesting. I started with a friend, a two-player game with the Clockwork Prince, with the bot.
Yeah.
And we were not quite happy. But of course, it was the first game with the bot, and this bot is you need to get used to it. It's like with the coin bots. I mean, the first game is terrible. You looking up rules and you goofing up rules, and yeah, of course you don't have this interaction between the players. But I think if you are okay with just progressing with the story, with the history of this land, a two-player game with the Chancellor could be okay. But I don't think two-handed. I'm not sure. I mean, even to play one role as good as you can, it's difficult to keep up with the game state, and I would not be comfortable. But if you are used to play like this, you could try it. And then afterwards, we played several games with 3, and there we had the feeling we never had an exile becoming a citizen. I think it's because the Chancellor is maybe too strong with just 2 opponents, 2 exile opponents. And then we played the 4-player games, but neither there. Yeah, also nobody became a citizen. But this is maybe the style of the style we play.
Yeah.
This would be a question I have, because I think we are used to playing Euro games a lot, and there you are playing as efficient as possible, and the goal is really to win this game. And I think it's a problem if you play Oath like it could be a problem if you play Oath like this. If you try to maximize and you see Oath just as a tableau builder, and you want to find your efficient machinery to win this game, but often you don't find the cards you need, and then it gets problematic. And with the citizenship, we asked ourselves, is it really worth for us to change sides? Or the Chancellor asked himself, should I really invite somebody in my kingdom to then get backstabbed two turns later? But maybe you should ask this question from a narrative standpoint, or you can make this decision from a narrative standpoint to join a kingdom, and just to see what story evolves from there. Maybe we are too focused on winning, and I think Oath is also a game that asks you what's important for you in a game.
Yeah.
What's winning for you? Is it really to have the most points at the end, or being the Chancellor, or is it just winning if you have a good time and you have hilarious stories about dragon skin cauldron drums or I don't know, backstabbing and
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's first, as we said several times today, it's a really a special game, but also that you are writing at your table some history, but not like in Civ type games where you just expand your empire. It can be really some small things, and there's a huge deck of cards in the game, and it has lots of different and interesting things. Although the players, in theory, do not have a hand of cards. So, but you can have three advisors, which are just cards you place next to your player mat. So in a way, these is your hand of cards because they can be hidden and you can flip them over and use them. Then in a way, it's a hand of cards, but really cleverly done. And if you have played Root, for example, you know this is a very asymmetric game. Yes, as Jonas said, Oath is also asymmetric because you are having three different roles: Chancellor, Exile, Citizen. But it's not that asymmetric. So it's not that difficult to learn. So in Root, which is a smooth ride and a great game, of course, but all factions play differently. It's not in this game. So the Exile all have the same mechanics, but it's still, because of the playstyle, it will be different. But let's check out the chat here for a second. Mo is saying, yeah, they do have flowchart bots. Yeah, and if you are used to coin, it's basically the same thing. I hate it, but this is just me. I don't want to use these bots, and regular viewers know this. But for some players, it's important to play alone or with just one other and adding a bot, so all good and all fine. So it's just like a flow chart. And Mo is also saying the bot is always a chancellor. There's a game mod on BGG where the bot is not the chancellor. So if you would like to check this out, check out the page of O's at BGG. It's not Daniel's game, he's saying, but Daniel, which game is yours? Apart from Uno and apart from whatever game. So no game for you. Hello, Nick, by the way. Did I hear backstabbing? Where do I sign up? There's a lot of backstabbing, Jonas, isn't there?
yeah, I think so. I mean, you have a lot of cards that change the game state dramatically. You can force yourself with cards into an empire, or you can also expel somebody from an empire. I mean, you can have agreements between each other, but they are in general they are not binding. So it's open to you to keep your promises or leave them out. There are certain cards that you have to do binding agreements. These are then also interesting. But I mean it's a Cold Whirly game.
I'm a fanboy anyway, so you don't have to
Yeah.
convince me, but it's a rich game. There's so much in it. I will briefly just show a couple of cards. Let me open the
Yeah.
vessel mod for a second. So there are already some cards over here. That's a discard piles of the three areas. By the way, these are more places that you can travel to. So let's say, let me just enlarge this a little bit. So let's say I'm the Chancellor and I'm travel down here. I can flip over this card, and so there is now the Chancellor is in the lush coast, and he's not there alone. Everything that he's having, so more war bands, some money, advisors, is now here. But you see, there's a huge deck of cards here. So let me just draw up to three cards. Let me see, my hand is here. So these would be my three cards that I'm now having. But I have to discard two, I keep one. And you see that there are lots of different things, and of course symbols. This means here that I can't keep this card, can't play this card as an advisor. It needs to be added to a side. So the three cards here, the sides tell you how many cards may be placed next to them. So this is, but you see, the deck is huge. There is a lot of variety. No two games will be the same for sure. It's rich in storytelling. Let me close this. Yeah, please go.
If you leave it open, one of the most beautiful aspects, I think, is the combination of locations and denizen cards. It's really interesting. I mean, just the combination of locations, where are certain locations, change the game dramatically, and then you have the denizen cards that are attached to certain sites that change a game completely. One game we had in the hinterland, we had the narrow path, and it becomes you need more supply to get there, and so it's a really secluded area afterwards, the hinterland, and we had one player who stayed back there, and he amassed a big army of beasts, and then the chancellor came from the cradle to the hinterland to confront him, and of course he lost all. And it's so beautiful how the landscape opens up and tells this rich story. And as you said, there is no game. You play no game twice. There's always new combinations.
Yeah, and here are the travel costs in supply points to reach other areas. But of course, let's take a quick look at the Rocky Coast. I think this is, if you go by boat to another area then that has the same symbol, then it's just one supply.
Yes, so in the cradle.
From the Lush Coast with just one supply, one action point, actually, I can move to the Rocky Coast, which would be otherwise, of course, a long ride. So
a 4 ride, and then even when you have then the narrow path, you have to go there first with 4 supply, and then to travel in the hinterland, you have to spend 3 more. So it could be really expensive, but here it's really it's always very close to each other.
So that is also a very nice aspect. And when I read the rules, I was worried about one thing, and then I thought about it and I said, well, it works out nicely. So I was playing, a couple of years ago, I was playing several times Star Trek Ascendancy, this 3-player game which can be played with 4 and 5. And this game, while it's just a couple of years old, it is pretty old school. And with this, I mean, when it's your turn, you do all your actions. So I do this and this and this and this, like in an Avalon Hill game from the 80s or 70s or whatever. And in a way, Oath is like this. So when I'm the Chancellor and I'm having my supply points, I do everything. So I travel, I search, I campaign, I do this, and then it's over. And I thought, wow, and now we are playing a 5-player game, and I have to wait for the other players to finish everything. And I thought, why? Because you all know in modern gaming, it's often that we are doing these micro turns. So we are flipping a card. Oh, this was already your turn. So next one. And I think it works well in Oath because this game wants to tell you a story. And if you are just travel and then do nothing, then it really doesn't mean a lot. But if you can travel and then search and then do that, then when your turn is finished, although the other players have to wait, then it feels like you are accomplishing something. So in my opinion, downtime is not that much of a problem in Oath. It's more a feature here, I think.
I think for me, it's also not a problem. But I know from the other players in my group, from some of the other players, I think they are sometimes a little bit irritated by this. It can take quite a long time. But I mean, I think he had to design it like this. Otherwise, this game is already really swingy and chaos can emerge. And if you have just one action, you can't. I think you can't fulfill your goals. I think you need these action points.
Yeah.
But I liked. I mean, it's a personal thing. I like to follow the other players in their turn to see what they are doing, and also a little bit to see how the different components work together. And then I realize, oh, he did a funny trick with the favor, how the way how he spent the favor on certain cards and then gained it back, and you can pull great plays, great turns, really efficient turns, and then you can learn from other players how they play, and you can talk about what this mean in the story, in the big story. But it reminded me of Tikal. I mean, Tikal is a really old game. I looked it up. It's 22 years old, 1999, and I think I played it in maybe 2010. And already then I thought, wow, all these 10 action points, and everybody else has to wait. Already then it was really outdated, I thought. And now comes Oath with the same thing. But I like it here.
Yeah,
But I can see the problem, especially some games in Oath. You feel a little bit underwhelmed. You can have games where your cards don't align, and then you don't do that much. You can have this feeling. But other times you have great turns where you're really enjoying yourself, and yeah.
but that is how life is.
Yeah,
A lot of days are a day. But
yeah,
then sometimes, wow, this was great today. We had so much fun. We did this and we really accomplished this. This is life. So you have these up and
up and
downs.
down.
So I think this is what makes O's probably also special. And I think while you were mentioning Tikal, yeah, there was this Tikal, Torres, and there was a third game by Kramer Kissling at that time, and I forgot the name. But these games used action points, and players were complaining already 20 years ago
Okay.
about the downtime of these games. But I think the main difference is here, these games were just mechanics. It was
Yeah.
just mechanics. So yes, of course, in these games you could also look what the other players were doing, but it wasn't that interesting. But here you have this evolving story. So I think there is the difference. But maybe looking at and there's one other command, board games for me, and the story evolves with every player's turn. I like that.
Yeah,
Yes, I think this is really
exactly.
important. And maybe we're closing this pretty much now. Um, but of course, I need to mention the master himself, so Dan Thoreau of Space Biff. He wrote a review of O's, and let me just let me read a couple of sentences from this masterful review. O's answers the questions left hanging by other civilization games. Who are you? Where are the internal challenges to your power? Rather than shepherding a culture from BC to far future CE, each play resembles a single pivotal turn in a larger epic. These are the watersheds, the revolutions, the moments when power was seized and crises were faced and buried. And when we played, our history was written by our own hands. Worley might call it a hate letter to civilization games, because Cole said at a different time that Oath is his hate letter to civilization and legacy type games. So Worley might call it a hate letter to civilization games and legacy games, but that's only half the story. Oath is also a love letter. So again, Dan, wonderfully written, and let me put in, when I'm citing so much here, the URL of that one. So, and board games for me, thank you. The third game was Mexica and Tikal, Java, Mexica. So there are even more games of this. Yeah, Java is this three-dimensional game, which is beautiful, but I can only tell you if you play it, and there are so many copies around from our Ravensburger. If you have a chance, play it, but just with two. It's too slow with three or four, in my opinion. Um, yeah, and Jonas, this was a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for your insights on
Thank
Oath.
you.
I think you will continue playing the game. Hopefully, we have a chance to play a game together. Maybe. Are you coming to Essen? Are you planning to come to Essen this year?
No, unfortunately not. We wait a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably the smarter decision. So I think that is better. But everybody, please check out this beauty from Leader Games and Cole Worley. And I think you'll like it if it's your style of games. Next week is a regular episode with me presenting Spielworxx and industry news. Jonas, if somebody wants to reach you, what is a good way to reach you?
Oh,
Is
I'm
it
unprepared. I think on Board Game Geek, I'm Jonas21, and on Twitter, I think you put my Twitter name in your tweets. I think it's Jonas Kissling or Kissling Jonas. I think
so?
you have to look it
Yeah,
up. Sorry.
people will find you. So I'm sure, and maybe you're happy if this crowd here does not find you. So
Okay.
could be a positive. So, but everybody, thank you for your time. If you would like to see a special topic discussed here or have a question in mind that you'd like to ask and I'm answering it in a later show, please drop me a mail at uli@spielworxx.de. That is uli@spielworxx.de. Till then, bleibt alle gesund, Black Lives Matter. Bye bye. Bye.